coming. Evelyn, it's just a stage she's going through, so no worries. My name is Sherri, and this class is the impact of radio on our lives, and we have been rehearsing for 18 weeks, and today is the big day where we get to perform for you. So thank you all so much for coming out. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Familiar faces in the crowd and new faces in the crowd, so we really appreciate you being here, because without you, it's just rehearsal. So a few housekeeping things. The restrooms are right out this door to your left. Please be really careful opening and closing the door. Try to be as quiet as you can when that door is opening and closing, because it's a pretty noisy door. This is the time where you take your cell phones out and turn them off or put them on silent so they don't become a sound effect in our show unintentionally. So go ahead and mute your cell phones now. You are welcome to take photos and video if you wish, but I will also be doing that, so don't worry about it. We will have it on the web for you to enjoy ad infinitum. We have a summer class coming up. If you are looking for something fun to do on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to be having our improv acting class here at 1:30 in the afternoon for 8 weeks. So we hope some of you can join us for that. And then this class resumes again in the fall. I think registration is late August. And it's in your program. This class, again, is the impact of radio, and it's a super fun class where we perform classic scripts from the golden age of radio. So thank you once again, and without further ado, please welcome our MC for today, Mona. Let's give her a big round of applause.
The golden age of radio lasted from the 1920s until the late 1950s. And even into the early 1960s. And every day, shortly after sunset, America would pull up her chair to a little box and spend a delightful evening as magically fiction was made to come alive. I'm Mona, your MC for today's show. So today we present for your listening enjoyment 2 comedies and 3 police dramas from the golden age of radio. Enjoy.
Now we are proud to present your favorite comedy show starring Bonnie Schmeigel as Irma and Lynn Harper as Jane in
My Friend Irma. I'm Jane, that's Irma. The only girl in the world who's so stupid she thinks a monsoon is a French gentleman.
Now, let me see. Eleanor Roosevelt calls her column My Day.
What's this?
So I'll call my column My 25 Hours. This is leap year. The days are longer.
Irma, what are you raving about?
Gee, didn't you know? I'm writing a column, see? I got this letter from the paper.
Well, let me see it. Dear Miss Irma Peterson, we would welcome any contribution our readers can make, be it a sentence, a paragraph, or a column.
Look what it says here. As far as payment is concerned, it will be great.
Oh, Irma, it says as far as payment's concerned, it'll be gratis.
Even better. That's plural.
Gratis means for nothing.
You mean they won't pay me for the column?
Irma, this newspaper's free, but with your column in it, they may find it hard to get that price.
I'm not going to let you discourage me. I think my column is pretty good. Look.
Oh, alrighty, let me see. My 25 Hours by Irma Peterson. I got up bright and early this morning. I had a cold shower. Then for breakfast I had juice, toast, eggs, newspaper, and coffee. Newspaper and coffee? Did your doctor prescribe roughage?
You don't think it's good?
You say this column's going into the newspaper?
Yes.
Now I know why all the willows are weeping.
Why don't you read on?
Oh, all right, I will. Beauty hints. Girls, to have a lovely figure, do as I do. Bend down and touch your toes 10 times. If you have extra long toes, stand further back, as this is cheating. For beautiful hair, wash it with beer, keep your mouth closed, as it may be habit-forming. Girls under 21 must be accompanied to the beauty saloon by their parents. Irma? Don't you mean salon? Oh, Irma.
What do you think?
Cookie, if Mrs. Roosevelt wrote that column, the Republicans wouldn't even have to campaign this year. If this is Walter Winchell, please come in. Oh, hi, Mrs. O'Reilly.
Girls, wait till you hear the news.
Wait, don't say anything till I get my pencil.
Pencil?
Irma's doing a column for the West Side Shopper.
Oh, I read that paper every day. Where's your column going to be?
I'm going to alternate with the obituary column. When nobody dies, they're going to use my stuff.
Maybe I ought to go around poisoning people.
Jamie.
I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's fun writing about who was seen with whom and with which. When my late husband, Officer Clancy, was courting me, our name was always in the columns.
Really?
Yes, it always said, what handsome officer was seen with which.
With which?
Oh, they always made that same typographical error. They spelled it W-I-T-C-H.
My column's going to contain beauty hints. You have a lot of beauty secrets. Would you tell me some?
Oh, I'd be glad to, dearie. Now, lots of girls with red hair like mine want to keep it naturally red. So I take the juice of 3 tomatoes, chop up 2 beets, and add a cup of ketchup, a dash of paprika, and rub it into my scalp. It's simple. Costs about 35 cents.
Is that on the menu, or can you order it a la carte?
Is Mrs. O'Reilly in there?
Yes, come in. Well, what is it, Professor?
Mrs. O'Reilly, the pipe in my room is leaking again.
I've already sent for the plumber. Irma, darling, have you written any of your column yet?
Yes. Now, I wrote this under cooking hints. Housewives. Many of you have trouble stuffing a turkey because it is so dark inside the bird. We suggest you pull the turkey inside out, stuff it on the outside, and then shove it back into place again.
You are writing a column? Don't get putting my name in the paper.
Oh, I won't print a word about either of you in my column.
If you print anything that's untrue about people, you can be sued. That's libel.
Well, go on, Jane. That's liable to what?
No, honey, no. Libel is slander in the written form.
Let me explain. If I should say that Mrs. O'Reilly is 90 years old, this is slander.
I should say so.
But if I print that she's 90 years old, this is libel.
Indeed.
However, if I add them together and say she's 180, this is neither slander nor libel. This is historical fact. Goodbye, girls.
Oh, I'm getting after him, Irma. If you print anything about me, print me true age 39.
39. Jane, is that slander or libel?
Honey, that's hallucinations. Hello? Yes, Irma, it's for you.
Thanks. Hello? West Side Chopper? Oh, Jane, it's my editor. Yes, Mr. Fletcher, I'm getting my column ready. Oh, that's too bad. Why don't you call the zoo?
The zoo.
He says they have a dead lion at the office.
That's the deadline.
Don't yell at me. I didn't kill it.
Give me the phone. Hello? Oh, yes, Mr. Fletcher, she misunderstood. I'm a roommate. You say it's nice of her to do this for nothing. Well, I'm sure you'll get your money's worth. By tomorrow. Ooh, yes, I see. Choice gossip. Yeah, Mr. Fletcher, I'll tell her. Goodbye.
He wants the column by tomorrow. Oh, what'll I do?
Fletcher wants neighborhood gossip, so just go to all the places you know and find out what's new.
Are you sure Mrs. Roosevelt started this way?
Oh, get out of here. Walter Winchell beware. Today, Irma Peterson begins her new column. Irma, did you get anything good?
Oh, yes. The Jones baby has measles, and Mr. Klotz, the baker, was the first to notice. So I'm writing it in newspaper style.
Newspaper style.
Yes. Clots, spots, tots, dots.
What other items did you pick up?
I thought I'd write something about the big fire this morning.
A 5-alarm fire, now that's news. What did you write?
There was a fire I watched from the restaurant across the street. Their prices are very reasonable. Hash is only 35 cents.
Is that all you wrote?
Well, that's all I ate.
Irma, I told Mr. Fletcher you'd have a column by 6 o'clock. If this is all, I better call and tell him, pad the obituary with Undertaker jokes.
Oh, no, Jane. I'm going out for more news, and I won't have as much trouble now. Mr. Krause? The store's empty, and the cash register's open.
Help me! Help me! I'm tied up! Help me!
Mr. Krause is all tied up, and there's a handkerchief stuffed in his mouth. Mr. Krause, I'm a reporter with the West Side Shopper. Anything new?
What?
Oh, Irma, yoo-hoo!
It's Violet Murphy. Hi, Violet. You're just the person I wanted to see.
Yeah, why?
I've become a columnist for the West Side Shopper, and I need some gossip.
Well, you certainly came to the right person, because I've just joined the Quizenbees.
The Quizenbees?
Yeah, it's our new girls club.
Well, how do you spell it?
GWSNBMY.
GWSNBMY? Well, what do the letters stand for?
Girls who say no but mean yes. And believe me, since I joined this club, I get so much dirt that I could sell my ears to True Confessions magazine. Say, do you remember Penelope's sister? She's practically bald. She had a job in a defense plant and her hair got caught in a conveyor belt.
Oh my goodness.
It took almost 6 hours to get her out. Of course she got paid for overtime.
Well, wait till I make a note of it.
And naturally you heard the news about me.
What news? Oh, Violet, I didn't notice you're wearing a new engagement ring.
Yeah. How do you like it?
Gee, it's lovely. What an unusual stone. Is that a diamond?
No, it's granite. My new boyfriend's a stone cutter. Well, I gotta go, Irma. I'll be looking for your column.
Great gossip. Darn, I wish I'd written that down.
Okay, Callahan, book him.
Sergeant, this is not justice. I did not pick that man's pocket.
Then how come you had his wallet?
Well, the bus lurched suddenly, and the wallet fell out of his pocket and landed on the floor. And while I was picking it up, his watch twirled around my wrist.
Must have been a pretty rough ride. We'll see that you get a smoother one on the way to Sing Sing.
Sergeant, would you write to the warden up there? Ask him to assign me to the laundry. I'd like to be near my mother.
Take him away, Callahan.
Oh, hello, Sergeant Mitchell.
Oh, no, Irma? You lost again? Well, we'll have one of the boys take you home.
No, Sergeant, I'm not lost. I'm doing a column for the West Side Shopper on local gossip.
Now wait a minute, I demand my rights.
Al!
Chicken, I've been framed.
What's the charge, officer?
Stolen car.
I didn't steal it. Kind of fell asleep in the back seat.
How come?
Well, I was tired after walking around all day looking for a job.
You, a job? Make that charge stealing a car and perjury. Take him away.
No, not my Al. Al, I gotta talk to you. Please, officer.
All right, lady. I'll give you 5 minutes.
Chicken, I didn't do it. You gotta believe me.
Al, I'm a columnist, and I must print all the gossip.
You have to print that I was arrested for car theft? Couldn't you write that they had a contest here to see who had the prettiest hands? And mine were so beautiful they insisted on taking my fingerprints.
No, Al. On top of our newspaper it says, E pluribus unum. That's French for the truth, and nothing but the truth.
Chicken, if you put my name in your column, we're through.
Oh!
Okay, time's up. Come on, Jeff, sister.
Come here, Irma. We were waiting for you.
Don't cry, darling. I know what it is to be torn between love and duty.
Mrs. O'Reilly, I don't know who tore you, but whoever zipped you up did an awful job. Irma, darling, we have something that's called freedom of the press in America. It's not the freedom to print everything we want, but rather the freedom to print that which is true. This is something you must learn to do, even if it means hurting someone you love.
I understand.
One night I had a battle with my late husband Clancy. The police come with a reporter. I told the reporter that Clancy and me was just dancing the rumba.
Did the reporters follow it?
Well, the reporter said he never seen a rumba where a woman kept her foot on her partner's face. Irma, you also must learn to recognize the truth.
I've made up my mind. I'm going to print the truth about Al, even though I know it'll make me an old maid.
Ah, forget Al. Just as long as what you do is a credit to journalism.
Well, maybe I don't need Al, but on cold nights, it's going to take an awful lot of newspapers to keep me warm.
Come on, honey, cheer up. This is your big day. What time does your paper come out?
In a couple hours.
You satisfied with the column you turned in? Because I didn't get a chance to read it.
I may have misspelled a couple of words. How many K's in success?
Hello? No, Mr. Fletcher, this is a roommate. Tell her what? You took the item about Al out of her column because the man who stole the car confessed?
Isn't that wonderful? Now, I still have the man I love, and I'm a success.
Well, Irma's column came out in the paper. I don't think it was read by many people because the obituary column is back. Maybe the way she writes make you wish you were dead, but Irma doesn't care. She has Al to keep her warm. There they are on the couch. Listen.
You know, Chicken Wicken, when we get married, we'll have a 4-room house, a living room, a kitchen, a bedroom, and a nursery.
A nursery. Oh, that's wonderful. I always wanted a place to grow plants.
You know, I grow plants too. A bloomin' idiot named Irma.
Again, bring you my friend Irma. This is the CBS Radio Network. Let's have an applause for the cat. Another 5-minute mystery. See if you can solve the case before the end of the program.
We're almost there, Alice. Just one more block, and we'll be at the Brooks household.
Gee, 2 whole years, Dorothy. It just doesn't seem possible. It's been so long. You and Jim married, and with a place of your own?
It's true. Jim's a writer now, and I work as a shop girl. Too bad you haven't taken advantage of the Brooks hospitality sooner.
Well, I intend on having a perfectly wonderful time.
Well, here we are.
Oh, what a charming place this is.
Oh, Jim's probably on pins and needles waiting for me to get here. Darling, it's Dorothy. Here's Alice.
Dorothy, look!
What? Where?
There on the living room floor. It's Jim, dead.
Oh, no!
Mrs. Brooks, I'm afraid you and Miss Manning will have to submit to some routine questions.
Oh, I'll be happy to help in any way I can, Inspector.
Thank you, Miss Manning. Now, Mrs. Brooks, while we're waiting for some information, I want you to tell me exactly what happened this morning.
There's nothing much to tell. Both my husband and I were quite excited, expecting Alice, that is, Miss Manning here, to visit us from Chicago. I was waiting until she called me at the dress shop.
And were you there all morning?
Yes, until Miss Manning's train arrived and we came out here.
I had written to tell them that I would call Dorothy as soon as I arrived. The train, though, was an hour late. Maybe if it had been here earlier, it may have prevented this.
Well, that remains to be seen. Apparently, Mr. Brooks was sitting here in this chair, writing when he was shot from behind. The ink pen he was using was still in his hand. He must have recognized his attacker, and since he did not die instantly, he printed these 3 initials here in ink on the floor. D-O-T.
D-O-T? I wish we could tell whose initials he was trying to reveal.
You're sure you don't know anyone whose name would fit that?
Positive, I can't imagine.
Oh no.
Yes, Miss Manning? Can you think of someone with those initials?
Well, D-O-T spells Dot, and it's Mrs. Brooks' nickname.
It can't be.
Why not, Mrs. Brooks?
I haven't been called Dot for over 2 years. It was a nickname I had in high school. My husband didn't like the name and never used it. No one in New York even knows me by Dot. You've got to believe me, Inspector. It's the truth.
Well, we'll see. Just a minute. Hello? Yes, Grady? Yes, I see. Well, it's sewed up anyway. Thanks. Well, you both will be happy to know our little murder is solved.
Oh, then it wasn't Dot after all?
No, Miss Manning, it wasn't Dot. I'm arresting you, Miss Manning, for the murder of Mr. Brooks.
Why did the inspector arrest Miss Manning for the murder of Mrs. Brooks? In a moment we'll hear, but first a word from Lux Toilet Soap.
Did you know that thousands of busy, attractive women have discovered that Lux toilet soap makes their skin lovelier?
Yes, Lux toilet soap is all around beauty care for me.
I'm a Lux girl too. It has such a delightful perfume, leaves a lovely fragrance on the skin.
I'm so delighted to hear that, ladies. Oh my, it's a very beautiful Lux complexion I see before me.
Why, thank you, Mr. Smart. Any girl is delighted to find out about Lux toilet soap. Isn't that right, ladies?
Oh, yes.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be the choice of 9 out of 10 screen stars.
Thank you, ladies. Lux Toilet Cake, the soap choice of the star. And now back to our story.
How dare you arrest me? I was still on the train.
Your train wasn't late, Miss Manning. That phone call just verified the fact. You came out here, murdered Mr. Brooks, returned to the station, and then called Mrs. Brooks to pick you up. Too bad. That wasn't what really gave you away, though, Miss Manning. You didn't know Mrs. Brooks was no longer called Dot when you printed those letters on the floor. The next time you leave a name as a clue to throw suspicion, you'd better get the name right. But of course, there won't be a next time, will there, Miss Manning?
Join us again next time for another chance to solve a 5-minute mystery. Let's have a handful. Now, The Adventures of Sam Spade Detective, brought to you by Wildwood Cream Oil Hair Tonic.
Sam Spade Detective Agency.
Please, sweetheart.
Oh, Sam. Oh, your case, was it an interesting one?
Fascinating in a depressing sort of way.
Oh, that's good.
Good.
Yes, because I know those who depress you the most pay off the best.
Well, don't send out for champagne. My client is on the way to Minneapolis. Besides, she's dead.
You should have collected in advance, Sam.
I couldn't. She was dead when I met her. Her name wouldn't have been any good anyway, on a check anyway. I'll be right down to dictate my report on the Jane Doe caper.
Oh, Sam, you say the most distracting things on the telephone. And what do you mean her signature wasn't good?
Her name was Jane Doe, which means anybody.
What do you mean she was dead when you met her?
Just that. Come on, let's get this over.
Sam, you're all on rot.
To Detective Lieutenant Dundee, Homicide, San Francisco Police. Subject, the Jane Doe caper. Dear Dundee, I am dropped in at the city morgue for a routine checkup on a missing person. What I found leaning over a morgue slab was you.
Hello, Sam. What brings you here?
Morbid curiosity. And you, Lieutenant?
This girl. Harbor Patrol brought her in.
Golden Gate Bridge?
Could have been. Looks like suicide. Sad. Tagged her Jane Doe.
Her clothes are intact. They cost someone a lot of money. But something about her didn't seem to belong to those clothes. Around her throat was a cheap silver medallion. She looked out of place, even in death.
Funny how some of them get to you, isn't it, Sam? A cop's not supposed to have feelings. But a young girl like that, everything to live for?
Why do you say that?
Look at the way she's dressed. She could have sold that fur coat for enough to go away and start over. That's me.
Dundee, of all the Bay suicides, can you remember a single one that didn't take off their coat before jumping?
Well, come to think of it,
I'll see you around, Dundee. Hey, Maxie.
Oh, wait a minute, Sam. You got a hunch about this one?
Let me know how it comes out.
Sammy, what can I do for you?
That stiff, Ted Jane Doe.
Autopsy report just came down. Drowning, multiple back fractures and shot. She took the jump all right.
Let's see that report. And don't tell Dundee.
Sure, Sammy. Make yourself at home.
I couldn't shake the feeling that this Jane Doe needed a friend, even if it was too late. The only thing that seemed to belong to her was that cheap little medallion. My next stop was a little supply house with a sign. Imported metals, our specialty.
Yes, sir. May I help you?
This metal, do you sell them here?
We haven't carried this design in over 10 years. I believe we had one just on sale, job lot for a graduating class.
Do you remember what school?
One of the poorer neighborhoods, Benedict, over on Lombard.
Good afternoon. Won't you come in?
Thank you.
What can I do for you?
My name is Spade. I'm a private detective. I'm trying to trace the identity of a girl who might have gone to school here.
Is she in trouble?
She's dead, sister.
Poor child.
The only clue to her identity was this medallion. She was wearing it when her body was recovered.
Oh, yes. I remember these. Have you a picture of this girl?
Yes, it's not very pleasant.
I have seen death before. Oh, yes. Poor child.
Do you recognize her?
Perhaps. You see on the wall the framed photographs? Here it is, the class of 1940.
The girls are wearing identical white dresses and veils, and identical medals. I couldn't tell one from the other, and the best the kindly old nun could do for me was the names and addresses of the 10 girls. The lead I followed was an old house with lace curtains in the window and a sign, doorbell out of order. You Mrs. Armanda?
How you know me?
I got your address from the sister at Benedict School.
Oh, well, come on in. Sorry for my poor house. When my husband died, they take his boat for debts. My son, he's a gamble everything.
Does your daughter live at home, Mrs. Armanda?
Julia? Why you talk about a Julia? She is in a trouble?
You didn't answer my question.
No, she don't live at home no more. She is leave her own people. She is make shame on us all.
Mrs. Armanda, I don't want to alarm you, but if this girl is your daughter, you better know. Here's a picture. Is it Julia?
What happened to this girl? She is dead?
The police think she committed suicide. Is she your daughter?
No, she is no daughter of mine. The sister at Benedicta school, she's a make a mistake. What she say about this girl in the picture?
The sister thinks it would be tragic if she were buried as a suicide.
No, she is no daughter of mine.
Have you ever seen her? Maybe in church?
We're all poor here. She wears a fancy clothes. I don't think this girl go to my church. You go now. I got to start supper for my son.
All right, Mrs. Armanda.
Goodbye.
I watched through the dingy glass pane until she disappeared into the living room. Then I opened the door and slipped back into the hallway.
I know how you feel, but crying is not going to bring her back. You got yourself to think of. She wasn't thinking of you when she took that way out.
No, Julia. I don't believe she killed herself. But if she did, I got to claim my own.
I'll take care of everything. I'll give her the biggest funeral you ever saw and take care of you for life. That's the way Julia would have wanted it. Am I right?
I don't know what is right, but I go to her.
It's too late.
Why you say that?
Her body's been claimed. It's on the way to Minneapolis.
Now I know what you are. I go to police. I tell them everything.
No, you're not.
Why you shoot me? Help me. I'm dying.
All I saw was a pair of broad shoulders before the back door slammed behind her. He was halfway down the stairway. I threw a couple of shots at him. They didn't connect. I saw a car pull away and guessed he was in it. I went back to Mrs. Armanda. She was dead. But why? I put the call in a homicide. The house that Jane Doe lived in was sad. The only furniture was a broken chair and a dresser. Stuck in the frame of the mirror was a snapshot of a man in dungarees and a seaman's cap. In the top drawer was a membership card on the Cannery Workers Union. I decided that union card might be worth following up.
Oh, pardon me. I didn't know Julia had company. Just tell her Tanya came by to see how she is.
Maybe you better come in.
Is something wrong?
Come on in.
Is Julia in trouble? Are you a cop?
No.
Then I'm going.
Wait a minute. I'm not a cop. But if you're a friend of Julia's, the police will be looking you up.
Where is Julia?
She's dead.
No, poor Julia. I told her she was taking a terrible risk.
You and Julia work together?
Yeah, out at the cannery on a tuna belt. Till she got moved up to inspector. Only you don't get to be inspector after just 1 month. So I says to Julia, I don't know what you got on Mr. Driscoll, but be careful.
Who's Mr. Driscoll?
He owns the cannery.
And he was friendly with Julia?
You should have seen the fur coat he sent her. Mink no less.
I saw it.
Was she wearing it when they found her?
Why do you ask?
I know what happens when a girl pushes her luck. She winds up in the bay. Isn't that where they found Julia?
Look, Tanya, I don't know how much you really know, or how much Julia Mothers knew either. But she'll never tell us now.
Oh no, Mrs. Armanda too?
Yeah, she clammed up when I could have saved her.
I don't even know who you are.
My name is Sam. I'm a friend of Julia's.
She never mentioned you. All I know is Julia was tired of being poor. One day she went straight into Mr. Driscoll's office. I yelled, "Where are you going with that fish in your hand?" And she said, "I'm going to hit Bull Driscoll with it for a raise." And that's how it started.
She got the raise?
Yep. And she started receiving presents. But the looks he gave her was as cold as a dead fish they dig out of the freezers
on the Mexican boats. Listen, Tanya, hear that siren? The cops. Let's say we finish this conversation somewhere else. Let's go! I got one more lead out of Tanya. The identity of the man in the snapshot on Julia's mirror. Chris Corelli. His address was his boat at Fisherman's Wharf. Hello, anyone aboard?
What do you want? I'm in the cabin.
His bloodshot eyes were dull with drink or grief or both.
Who are you?
My name is Spade. Here's my ID.
Yeah, who hired you?
Nobody.
Oh, I guess that means Driscoll.
I don't know Driscoll. How well do you know him?
I never met him. But hanging around the cannery all day, he never showed.
Did he have a reason to kill Julia?
What's your interest in Julia?
I only saw her on a morgue slab. Tag Jane Doe.
I thought you guys only worked for money.
What do you know about Driscoll?
Smart operator. He don't wait for the tuna to run up here. He gets them in Mexican waters. And then he brings them frozen, all year round.
Does Custom get a look at those fish before they're unloaded?
Fat lot of luck, that would do.
You mean they unload them and thaw them out before they're inspected?
Hey, you think he was running something in those fish, and then Julia found out about them?
I don't know. All I know is Julia was dressed fit to kill. I didn't tell him what else I thought. I headed uptown, walking slow enough for a drunk man to tail me. He was still behind me when I leaned on the doorbell at Bull Driscoll's home address.
Good evening.
Mr. Driscoll?
Right the first time.
You were Julie Armanda's employer?
Right the second time. Come in. We can talk in here. Sit down. You're from the police, am I right?
You're only half wrong.
About the tragic shooting of Julia's mother, correct?
You're still only half wrong.
I never met the family. Never thought much of that fellow she's engaged to. Drunk, given to violence. Has he been questioned?
I talked to him.
Bad apple, am I right?
You may be less than half wrong on that one. You know perfectly well that Julia's dead, right?
Why do you say that?
You know about the shooting of Julia's mother. You read in the paper about the Jane Doe and the mink. You must have guessed who she was, since you brought up that mink. Am I correct?
I had my reasons. She's been despondent ever since I told her she had mistaken my intentions. Understand?
I think she committed suicide when she went into your office with that fish in her hand and came out with a promotion. Just a hunch.
Your hunch is that Julia was blackmailing me. Well, you're wrong. She merely discovered a little irregularity. One of my boats was a smuggler. You follow?
You're smart enough to know you could have got results a lot cheaper than a $20,000 wardrobe. If all you wanted was to keep her quiet.
Then why did I do it? Tell me that.
The cops never ID'd her. It never occurred to them that a girl dressed like that might just be a poor working girl in a fish cannery. They're probably still looking for a missing heiress. You had that body claimed and shipped to Minneapolis.
What?
Biggest funeral you ever saw. Take care of you for life, you said. Brother, you sure did. I'm glad you think it's funny. I don't think it's funny when a poor old woman gets filled with lead because she wants to claim her daughter's body. I don't think it's funny dressing a poor little dame up in the only fur she'd ever touched so she could keep a date with her murderer.
What a humanitarian, aren't you?
I show you what I mean. You're a little late, Chris.
Spade, get out of my way. I know what I'm doing.
Don't do it. Don't be an idiot.
Go ahead, call the cops. I'm finished.
You fool, I had him nailed.
He didn't kill Julia. I did.
Why?
I thought I was losing her to a guy that could afford to dress her up in mink. When I saw her in that fur coat on her way to meet him, I just lost it.
End of sob story, period.
Oh, Sam. Oh, I was so worried about you, Sam.
I said end of sob story.
It's not the story, Sam, it's you.
What did I do wrong?
Nothing. You're perfect, that's all. You gave up all that time and money to sacrifice yourself for a poor girl who wasn't even in a position to thank you.
True, but I'm a tiny bit less wonderful than you think.
You are?
Now go type that up.
All right, Sam. If you think you're going to shatter my delusions, you're wrong. Here's a report, Sam. But what is it that reflects to your dishonor?
You're right, Effie. I mustn't shatter your delusions. I played it stupid, that's all.
I know, but only to throw them off the scent.
I should have known all along that Driscoll didn't kill Julia. He was too smart. He wouldn't have left that cheap little medallion on her.
Oh, Sam, that just proves how wonderful you are. You cracked the case in spite of the mistakes you made.
Okay, you win. Dry up and go home.
Good night, you sweet, wonderful man.
Good night, sweetheart.
This has been the Adventures of Sam Spade, Detective, brought to you by Wildwood Cream Oil Hair Tonic. Let's have a round of applause for the cat. Hello and welcome to another 5-Minute Mystery. See if you can solve the case before the end of the program. An anniversary party is going on in the Brown household around the corner. One of the guests, Georgina Taylor, pauses while eating her dessert, saying,
Best lemon pie I've ever tasted, Mary.
Oh, really?
I wish I could do as well. Hey, it doesn't look as if Sam is appreciating it much, though.
Goodness dear, is my cooking that bad? Sam, your head is practically in your plate. I guess he's fallen asleep, everyone. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Sam, sit up. Sam, it's dreadful. I'd better shake him. Sam!
Great guns, he's dead.
How do you do? I'm Sergeant Barker, the Homicide Division, and this is one of my boys, Mike Grady. Where's the body?
It's in the dining room at the table. We didn't move him.
You might as well be comfortable, everybody. This will take just a little while. Dead all right. Peaceful too. Who's Mrs. Sam Brown?
I am.
You mind telling me what happened?
I guess not. I'm so shocked. I don't know where to begin or what to tell you.
Well, you might as well begin by telling me what you served for dinner.
Well, we had soup first.
Soup? What kind?
Mushroom. And then roast chicken, green peas, mashed potatoes, and I served him coffee. But I don't see how all this could mean anything.
Just routine, Mrs. Brown. Did Mr. Brown eat everything?
Yes, he did. He seemed to fall asleep over his coffee.
Is that so?
And when I tried to wake him, I found he'd had a heart attack.
Yeah, that will be all for a few minutes, Mrs. Brown. We want to take a look around. Notice anything about this table, Mike?
Nah, Chief, can't say as I do.
Neither do I. Let's look in this kitchen. An orderly person, isn't she? Stack the dishes after each course.
Yep. And here's the silverware over here. Hey, look here, Chief. One of those soup spoons is turned black.
Black? Let me see it. The only spoon that's tarnished, too. Well, I was beginning to think it was a heart attack or the perfect murder. But this silver soup spoon is evidence enough. Mrs. Brown?
Yes, Sergeant Barker.
I'm sorry to interrupt your little party, Mrs. Brown, but I'm sure your guests won't mind.
I don't understand.
You will, Mrs. Brown, you will. You see, you're under arrest for the murder of your husband.
Do you know why Sergeant Barker accused Mrs. Brown of murder? In a moment, we'll hear the solution, but first, a word from our sponsor.
For that youthful glow and for skin as smooth as silk, use Camay Beauty Bar. Camay brings out the beauty in you. Available at finer retail stores near you.
And now, back to our story.
Sergeant Barker, how did you know it was a homicide?
Well, Mrs. Brown took careful pains to wash the soup pans and soup dishes before she served the rest of the meal.
Ah, yes, I can see that.
But she forgot one thing, to wash the silver soup spoons. What she didn't realize was that an hour later, by the end of dinner, the spoon her husband had used to eat his toadstool soup would give her away. She didn't know that toadstools make silver turn black. Mrs. Brown almost committed the perfect murder, but she forgot to wash one spoon.
Thank you for listening, and join us next time to see if you can solve another 5-minute mystery. Let's have a round of applause for that. The Johnson's Wax program presents Fibber McGee and Mo. If you know who left his sedan with 3 flat tires and all the paint chipped off in front of 79 Wistful Vista, please tell him to come and pick it up. Because I'm at the curb looking it over and very annoyed about it, are Fibber McGee and Mo.
Look at this broken down jalopy still sitting here, Molly. What a heap. Every time I kick this crate, something falls off it.
Kick it again, McGee. Maybe it'll just disintegrate.
Nobody's gonna get away with leaving this pile of junk in front of our house. Hey, do we know this gal coming here?
Oh, yes. We saw her last week, McGee.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. McGee. I didn't know you lived here. My, it certainly is a small world, isn't it? Just small.
Yes it is. Mrs.
Oh, did you have an accident with your car?
Us? No, this isn't our car.
Oh, the way people drive these days is just awful. I was driving yesterday when a man banged right into my front bumper with his back fender. Can you imagine? My front bumper.
Well, you can't trust a man driver. Try to dry your nail polish out the window and they think you're signaling for a turn.
You should have heard him scream about one little old fender torn off. It's not my car anyhow, it's my sister Thelma's.
Well, I hope your sister wasn't angry about her bumper.
Thelma? My sister Thelma? Do you know Thelma?
Oh no, we don't know her, we just heard you mention her.
I must go tell Thelma I saw you. Oh, it's so nice running into old friends this way. And I do wish you'd call me up sometime, Mrs. McGee. I'm in the phone book. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Thelma's sister. She's really loquacious, isn't she?
Yeah, and talks too much too. But I got other problems right now, kiddo. Oh, look who's here. Hi, old-timer.
Hello, Mr. Oldtimer.
Hello there, kids. Hey, where'd you get that hot rod, Johnny? Looks like you built it yourself.
No, this is no hot rod. It's just a pile of junk.
Well, it'll never run, son. I can tell you by looking at it. You got to take them fenders off, drop the spring hangers, see, then you tack a pair of chrome jets on the back end, hook up twin pipes to the intake, and soup up